Hi, my name is Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses with Healthy Black Woman, and today I'm here with my good friend Shaquita Graham, who is the founder of atechco.com as well as lovingtheblackman.com. Shaquita is also a wife and a mom and a homeschooling mom at that, and she also works full-time. So I can't wait to hear what she has to say about this topic. How are you doing today, Shaquita?
I'm doing good, Noma, but this is some heavy conversation right now.
All right, so let's jump right in. We were talking just before we started the segment about a politician named Sean Duffy, and I looked up the article at thegrio.com, and I just want to quote exactly what he said. This is what he said. He said, my liberal friends, Congressional Black Caucus members talk about fighting for the defenseless. Oh, no, sorry, let me go back a little bit. It says, here are the stunning facts. This is him, quote, here are the stunning facts. The African American community is 15% of the country as a whole, but accounts for 40% of the abortions. 15% of Americans, 40% of abortions. In New York City, the most recent statistic is that African American women had more abortions than live births. This is what he said. And, you know, the title of this segment is that this congressman, this GOP politician says black women can't say Black Lives Matter and still kill black babies. And, you know, you and I had a preliminary conversation about this. And one of the first things that I want to start out by saying before we go any further is I have not even a single ounce of belief in me that this man actually cares about black babies, about black women, about black men, or about black families. I think that he just took something, statistics, which it seems that are true because I'm seeing the citing and sourcing at the article. So there's a source, a credible source that he's citing. And he took that information and he's obviously using it in a very negative way to say something very negative. What do you think?
Well, Noma, I totally agree with what you said about him caring about our community. Since when I can't remember any politicians who I saw really cared about our community. I mean, the rhetoric that he's spinning is just dizzying. You know, if he really cared about statistics in the black community, then he would care about the fact that black men are like 7% of the population, but 60% of the incarcerated. I mean, if he wants to be an advocate for the black community, a real advocate, then he can start by advocating for reparations. You know, when the baby is born, I'm sure that that baby is going to want a piece of the America that his or her forefathers built. So that is in general what I think about it.
Okay, so let's address a question that's obviously lingering in the air. I wrote it down and I said, you know, looking at that statistic of being 15% of the population, but 40% of the abortions that take place, are women using abortion clinics as birth control instead of actually being responsible? Is that a fair question?
You know, the thing with me is all of these statistics everybody can come up with when it comes to the black community and trying to degrade our image and our habits and what we do. You know, it's surprising to me because you can come up with all these statistics about the black community, but you can't look at a jury pool and decide that it's unfair for it to be one black person out of 41 jury members. You can't see how it makes sense to have at least a certain percentage of black people on a jury pool when, you know, there's a black defendant instead of it being 100% all white. You know, those are the statistics that I want to hear about because then that will take care of all the other statistics. There's nothing wrong with black women. They know how to use birth control. They know how to build families if people would just get out of our business. You know, if you want to help, stop killing in our communities. Stop stealing everything from the hard work that we built this country on, and stop coming in and destroying by distributing drugs and sucking out all of the schools and sucking out all of the jobs. If he wants to help, he is a representative of Wisconsin, which was one of the 14 large police departments that only killed black people in 2015. Count that kind of stuff up.
Right. I agree with you in the sense that you can't just look at one part of the story and then not look at the whole picture of what exactly is going on. That being said, I do think that a conversation does need to take place in terms of why are there 40% of abortions in the black community when there's only, or at least collectively in the country, why are 40% of the abortions coming from black women when there's only 15% of black women? That's a valid question. But I want to reiterate that I don't want to hear it from him. Okay, because again, when I started, I said he doesn't care. That question does need to be asked, but it's not him that deserves to answer to ask it. Before you can start correcting a person, talking about them, talking to them about their issues, the first thing that you have to do is you have to actually care about them. I would not ever want to listen to somebody who had shown me that they did not care about me come into my life and dissect it and take it apart and tell me where I'm going wrong and what I'm doing wrong. And it works in the bigger picture too of you don't want some guy who does not think very much of black women, obviously, to come in and then be the voice of black babies. How dare you? You don't care about those black babies. You don't care about those black women. So no, I don't want you to ask me the question. But I want to set him aside and say that question does need answering. And what I can say about it is the question is being asked at a very late stage in the sense that why are 40% abortions happening? We should be asking questions about why isn't there birth control? Why isn't there education? Why aren't there more opportunities? And asking what exactly is going on? Because even if somebody else causes your problem, it's still your problem to solve. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I am not sure that the narrative is true. I'm not sure that the numbers are true. I don't know what they're counting and what all is being, taken into account when they come up with these statistics, because I've read that some people say they're only taking a portion of the black women in society and coming up with that figure, in a portion of the black women in America and coming up with that figure as they do with black marriage and things like that. So
you mean they go to the poorest area maybe, or the area with the worst statistics, and then take those worst statistics and try to represent them as the whole?
Well, there's any number of ways to do
manipulate
gymnastics with arithmetic. I don't know how they've done it, but I have heard that they take women of a certain age, so they're not accounting for the whole pool of women. Okay. So, that's narrowing it down. Also, there was a great documentary called MAAFA 21, MAAFA 21, that goes in detail about what is happening with abortion clinics in our community, Planned Parenthood, which is federally funded and mostly represented in black communities, that you could really make an argument they're coercing black women into believing that this is the best option for them. So there's a lot of contributing factors, and I think, yes, as black women, we need to address those things. But again, if you address the other things, like incarcerating all of our men, killing our children, taking away things that rightfully belong to us, then we would be able to deal with those issues, because this is not an issue of black women's practices. This is an issue of the circumstances and the scenarios that black people find themselves in, perpetuating cycles. Every institution that has to do with the black family or the black child is misusing, and basically there's some type of corruption going on, whether it's the education system. We can't take our children to school and expect for them to get the respect, the love, and the care that they should get. The justice system. Then you have the employment market or the labor market. So, it can seem hopeless to a young mother. She doesn't have the support she needs to make a good decision.
Right. So to answer his question, as if it needs answering, yes, Black lives do matter. And the question of abortion, we should reiterate again, is a whole other topic. And it was disingenuous of him, I think we can agree, to try and take those two separate issues and try and tie them into one. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I would agree that he needs to focus on his own community and what's happening in Wisconsin and stop trying to comment and tell Black women and Black people what they need to do.
Absolutely. This was I think you and I have done a good job of containing our emotions with regards to how we feel about him. The conversation certainly could be longer, but I think we've made our point that, first of all, even if he was making a good point, which he isn't, we wouldn't want to hear it from him anyway. And I think we can leave it there. And I just want to say to our audience, this is a segment of Your Black Women, where Black women keep it real. I want to say thank you to Shaquita Graham. Thank you, Shaquita, for joining me today. And just a reminder, Shaquita is the founder of atechco.com and lovingtheblackman.com. And again, I'm Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses with Healthy Black Woman. Thank you for watching.